Welcome to Straight from the Muzzle, folks, where we're anything but straight. My name is Space.
And I'm Sparrow.
And we welcome you to our episode, which is about what today?
Oh man, today we are revving up the furry fandom and talking about car culture and furries and how those two things can blend together. We actually have a guest on our show today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Zero, Kangazuro. I am engineer by trade, car enthusiast, and furry.
That's a lot of different things we've mushed together, isn't it?
It is.
Like what kind of engineer?
I'm a mechanical engineer.
Okay.
So yeah, it's broad, but I like that. It's so I can do a bunch of things, really.
That's cool.
Nice.
I thought I was looking over. I was totally peeping Tomming your Twitter feed and everything. And I saw a picture of you. It looks like a blue muscle car.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I wonder if he's a mechanic. I don't know.
Not quite.
No.
That is mine. That is my car, my Pontiac Trans Am.
Mm.
But no, I'm not any sort of licensed mechanic or anything like that. Everything I do is just sort of figured out along the way at home using YouTube tutorials.
Oh, we love that. All the car groups I'm in, they're all just like, yeah, use the YouTube mechanic. It's cheaper.
It is.
And it is. It sure is. I tried using the YouTube mechanic twice, and I only succeeded once.
It takes a couple of times sometimes, but we get there in the end.
That's what Felix does, though. He had it was weird. We were driving and all of a sudden his air just completely turned off. And we're like,
oh no,
what the hell? And so I was like, well, let's just take it to a mechanic in the morning. We'll just, go to Pep Boys or whatever. And then he's like, no, I think it might have something to do with a fuse. So he goes and buys over the next coming days, there's just boxes of fuses, just universal ones. And I'm like, looking at this, I'm like, I don't even know where to fucking start with this. Oh yeah. By the way, you can swear. I forgot to tell you.
Good.
And so I'm like, what are you going to do with this? He's like, I'm going to look on YouTube. So he did. And he actually fixed a couple of things in his car just because of the fuse itself.
Oh, yeah. We love
Nice.
That.
So I was just like, whatever.
Forums and groups are also awesome.
Yes.
My instrument cluster was going out, and I was like, I need to wait a month until I can get this fixed. What do I do? And a dude in the forum was just like, just slap it when it's acting up. And that worked. He told me the exact spot. He's like, slap it right here.
We call that a bit of percussive maintenance.
And it worked. Anytime I started the car and it was failing, I just smacked it real hard.
Perfect.
I had this 1992 Toyota Corolla. It was my first car.
Oh, beautiful.
And it had so many problems with it. And one of them was the alternator just kept glitching out. Oh. And so someone's like, just tap it with a hammer. And I'm like, that doesn't work. And so I did that. I tapped it with a hammer and it turned on. And I'm like, what is wrong with this world?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
you,
okay. Zero, this is a fun first question that's totally not on the notes at all. What was your first car?
My first car was my 1978 Pontiac Trans Am. That's the blue one that you may have seen on my Twitter.
You still have it?
I still have it.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yes, yeah. It's quite a story. It didn't look like that when I got it. It came out of a barn in Kansas, and it had been sitting for decades.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, yes. And it was just a roller. It didn't have any engine or anything in it. And my grandpa was the one that helped me restore it when I was 14 years old. And we spent 2 years putting it together. And boom, there it is. And so I've had it 9 years later, just still got it. And I'll take to the end of the earth.
Yeah, until the wheels fall off. Huh?
Exactly.
That's awesome. So would you say that's what got you into cars?
Oh, I think I was into cars before that.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I think you can ask furries what got them into furries, and sometimes they'll have an answer. It was this movie or this piece of media or something like that. But for as long as I can remember, cars were just always such a cool little neat thing to me. And, your relationship with cars changes over time because you're 5 years old and you're playing with Hot Wheels, right? And then, you get to your teenage years and you can actually start thinking about real cars and putting your hands on real cars. And now it's a totally different thing. So I've always been interested in cars. I don't know what the moment was that made my brain click and go, I like this thing a lot, but I just do. So
yeah, just born that way.
Oh yeah. It's born with motor oil in your blood. That's what they call it.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Incredible that you still have your first car. I wish I still had mine.
See, I think that's what made me take extra good care of it. I hear that a lot. It being an older classic car from 1970, I get a lot of older gentlemen, like especially at the gas station. I'll take you to the gas station and I'll have old people like drive up on me like, oh, hey, is that this or that or that? I had one of those when they always tell me the story about how they regret selling their first car. And so I've made it a point that I'm never getting rid of this thing ever.
Incredible. Well, I think it probably helps that it was considered older even when you first got it. Yeah.
Yes,
so
yes.
it's like, oh yeah, don't sell this classic. Because you always,
Never.
if you have somebody in your life that knows, and they'll tell you like, don't get rid of this car.
Yep.
We had the coolest car when growing up, and we had it up until about 2004 when we had to sell it and move up to Utah. But it was a 1965 Mustang.
Ooh, beautiful car.
Yeah, and we would take it to the beach, and we'd listen to, I think in that car, I listened to like Pearl Jam.
Yes.
I listened to rock music.
Very, I'm driving my car like band.
Yeah, it's just like those are the memories. So when I listen to music like that, I think of the memories of that car because it was so cool.
Yes.
But also those cars like yours, they're freaking tanks, man. If you were to hit a car today with one of those, you'd rip right through it.
It's true.
It's so heavy.
Safety was not on their concern when they were.
Yeah, who needs crumple physics?
There's definitely no airbags in that car.
We die like men.
Yeah. But it was really cool, though. It was a really awesome car. It didn't have a convertible top. So, I mean, imagine like in the summer, it is freaking hot in there and there were leather seats. So you got all sticky. But it was a lot of fun.
Car. Yes.
If it hadn't made it up to Utah, I'm pretty sure it would have been my car. I would have just loved that.
That's awesome, though.
You know that saying that's like, if you rebuild a boat board by board, is it still the same boat?
Oh, yes.
Like, how much of that car do you think is still like the OG car if you were to just spit out a number?
Quite funny you bring that up. So I actually keep sort of just a spreadsheet of everything that I've done to the car. And as of last winter, like last year, every single bolt on the car has been replaced. So I have touched every single system on this car in some way or fashion, be it restoration, upgrading, just changing out of something. So every single bit of the car has been replaced. Hardly anything was a factory assembly part left on the car.
But I mean, can't that also increase the value of the vehicle itself?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It depends on the vehicle, right? So, I mean, for me, I don't care about the value of the vehicle. I do the modifications to my vehicle that I want, because I'm not worried about the resale value at all. So, a lot of people, it depends on the modifications. Some modifications are really desirable. Some modifications don't really increase the value at all because some people are kind of sketched out by them. So it depends. But yeah, for sure.
Well, and like the resale value for cars is already so shit no matter what you do.
Absolutely.
Like, you drive it off the line, it's already like, So it just do what you want. Do what you want to your fucking car. Who cares?
Exactly.
We were watching Fail Army last night, and it was this black Ferrari that drove off the lot, and the guy like peeled out, and he like it totally lost control and hit the median, and the car is just wrecked. Like not even 2 seconds out of the lot, you destroyed the car.
Kind of deserved. I'm not gonna lie.
I did kind of the opposite. That when I bought my most recent car, what I was driving was a Pontiac Vibe, and it was a good little car, but it was dying. And,
is that the one that you hit the deer with?
No, that was my first Honda Element.
Oh, okay.
I still miss that car. I got the same exact fucking one now. I bought the same model, same year. But when I turned my Pontiac Vibe with its check engine lights sputtering into the car dealership, and it exploded. Like smoke started coming out the front as soon as I parked. And I was like, well, I guess I have to leave with something today.
Dang it. Oh, man.
Yeah, I drove that 92 Corolla. Actually lasted me quite a while, but it was on a rainy, like the setup is just so perfectly awful. It's I'm getting off work around 7 at night. It's rainy, it's cold. My battery is like 10% on my phone. And I get onto the freeway and I'm on the on-ramp and the timing belt breaks. And I'm stuck on the on-ramp. Yeah. And I'm like, no, what am I going to do? So at the time, like I knew some cop friends. And so I called one of them because I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so they kind of helped me get like a tow truck and then he towed it.
What a bummer.
Now I have a, what is it, like a 2008, 2009 Kia Optima.
Oh, nice.
It's a nice car. Her name's Gertie.
Gertie? Oh my God, I love that.
Short for Gertrude.
You would drive a Kia Space.
It's so nice and comfy, though.
It is. I agree.
I love it.
What was your most memorable car experience, Zero?
Oh man, there's so many. For sure, one of my favorites has to be the time when I was helping a friend get their first project car. Name is Wiz, and they also are from Georgia, just south of Atlanta. So they're going to hear this and they're going to crack up because I tell the story all the time and they love it. It's great. He loves weird stuff, weird cars that are super uncommon, but not necessarily super desirable. Just weird stuff that like no one knows about or no one likes.
I get it.
Yes. And so he's been on the search for a project car. You know, this is about 4 years ago at this point. And he's young and just getting into the hobby. And I'm helping him. I'm just sending him some listings on Facebook Marketplace. That's like one of the best places to look for cars. And so I'll send him something and kind of get his interest and see what he likes and what's that. And so it's in the morning. I'm going to work, but I'm scrolling Facebook Marketplace right before. And I find one and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe, you know, something like this he could probably, you know, get into. So send it to him on Discord. And then I turn off my phone, go out throughout my day. And nearing the end of work, I like, oh, hey, I got a message. I'll check it open. And he's like, hey, I bought it. And I was like, what do you mean you bought it? Like, are you going to buy it? He's like, no, you're going to pick it up for me this weekend. I was like, what do you mean I'm going to pick it up for you this weekend? Okay, well, that's great. I wasn't planning on that. So anyway, let me actually see what this thing is. So what it was a 1978 Toyota Corona. I don't even know what this is. It's a station wagon made by Toyota in the 70s. That's just Japanese cars weren't even hardly around in America. I don't even know anything about this car. So it was $300 and not running. And I'm like, oh, great. So I'm going to have to trailer this thing, get it up on a trailer, whatever. All right. So I get a buddy to help me. I get my truck and trailer and we're headed out to the guy's place. We get to the guy's address that was given to me and I'm talking to the guy. He's like, okay, car's not here. I'm like, what do you mean the car's not here? Like, where is this going? We're here to pick up a car. Why is the car not here? He's, no, don't worry. It's just down the road. It's just down the road. And I'm like, okay. And it's not at your house, but we're here. He's like, yeah. I actually don't own the vehicle. I'm just selling it for the person. I'm like, where is this going? Oh no, what are we getting involved in? He's like, yeah, it actually belongs to this old lady. She's moving out of her house and doesn't drive the car anymore. It's just sat forever. She wanted to give it to me to restore it, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't like it. It's just this weird Toyota thing. I don't know what to do with it. And I was, yeah, that's fair. I don't know what we're going to do with it either. So, but he's like, yeah, I just want to sell it and get rid of it. Cause you know, I told her I would take it, but man, I just don't want to do anything with this. It's like, okay, so we're going to go rob an old lady blind is what's about to happen. Okay, great. So we start heading down the road and get to her house. Boom, there it is, perched up on this hill, buried underneath who knows how many years of stuff just piled on this poor little car. And we're talking to her. She's an old lady getting ready to move into her retirement home. She's just like, yeah, telling us all sorts of stories about this car, about how she would take her kids to school in this thing. And, you know, this was her daily driver. She bought it brand new in 1970. And I'm like, this is like pretty incredible, like legacy attached to this little car. And we're about to bastardize it. Like, who knows what's about to happen to this vehicle? I'm like, oh, I'm not. And, you know, meanwhile, we have to keep the facade that we're not the ones, because she didn't want to sell this car to anyone. She wanted to sell it to this person that she knew, but he didn't want it. So now we're trying to just be like, yeah, we're just going to store it until he's ready to do it. And she's like, great, that's awesome. And so now we have the ordeal of trying to get it on the trailer because all 4 tires are flat. The car doesn't run. So luckily it's parked on top of a hill. So it leads down into a street, you know, there's a long driveway, just a long straight driveway. So I'm doing my best to back up the trailer and doing a complete just terrible job of it because I'm terrible at backing in trailers, let alone ones on tiny driveways trying to go uphill. And anyway, it finally gets lined up after just completely embarrassing myself. And here we go. We're just going to try and push. Nothing. Oh, great. Okay. This car didn't even budge a bit. So we're like, okay, we're just going to leave the trailer here. I'm going to go get some tires because I have some tires that'll fit this thing. Come back with the tires, get them on the car, finally able to roll the car out. And so we get it out, push it out on the trailer. Thank God. Nothing happened. I always have the fear of like, oh, this thing is going to roll down the hill and we're not going to be able to catch it.
Or the brakes aren't going to work.
Yeah, or the brakes don't. Exactly. I don't even know that the brakes did work. I'm not going to lie. But I think this thing was just so old and corroded that it didn't even want to roll downhill. It was just sort of a very slow, we expected push it down the hill and it'll go itself. And it was more like a push it down the hill and it was kind of begrudgingly going down the hill just
Toyota
barely.
corroded.
So, yeah, finally got it on the trailer, got it home. And So yeah, we get it home, unload it, and you should know, I live in Oklahoma, like 4 states away from Georgia. So he's flying in, in a few months to come check this thing out. And I'm looking at it like, he just bought a piece of shit. Like, this thing I'm like, I don't know what we can do with this. I don't know I have zero clue. And he's so excited, so ecstatic. So, we get it. He comes here, checks it out, and he's elated. He loves this thing, man. He bought the thing for $300. I should mention that as well. Basically nothing, right? So he's ecstatic to get it home. So since he's going all the way back to Georgia, we have just a hired service, just someone who's willing to, take it all the way down to Georgia. So on the day that they come and pick it up, I had drawn some penises all over the in the dust all over the windshield and stuff like that, just as a parting gift for him making me go and steal from an old lady. And you know what? It actually made it there safe and sound. And I'm happy to report that in the 4 years that he still has it, it's running and driving fantastically. He's done a great job at preserving this thing. A lot of people kind of want to tear into it and do a restoration, but he's actually kind of gone a different route in preservation. This thing is a beautiful example of it looks like it was plucked out of 1980 and dropped right into 2025. It's a beautiful car.
Oh, I love that.
I was looking that up and I sent you a picture on Twitter and Telegram to you. It's a decked out 1978 Corona, and I'm looking at like, good God.
Yeah. Not quite that extreme. This one, this one's crusty and dusty, man. It's brown with brown interior. It is like perfect old person spec. No one would look at this and think, oh yeah, a car enthusiast owns this car. No, you look at this and think someone, I don't know how they're alive still driving this thing, but it's perfect. It's beautiful. You'll see it at FWA if you go. It's fantastic.
Bring back the station wagon though.
Yes.
I'm telling you, every time I see a station wagon, I just point and look like a foolish monkey. I'm
Same.
like,
I love the station wagon.
I keep a Polaroid in my car, and every time I see like old station wagons or just any old beat up piece of shit, I always stop and take a picture of it.
Yes. Gosh, that's a trend that we really need to bring back is station wagons. I wish station wagons would come back.
I have to ask though, like, I call them go-kart wheels.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What is the obsession with go-kart wheels, and why do they tilt inwards?
They tilt inwards, yes. Okay, so this is kind of it's a Japanese car trend. I'll start by saying that car culture in different countries is so different from each other, and it's often a celebrated thing. It's really cool to see people from different cultures and how they can modify their cars. America, in brief, we're known for excess. We love our big stuff, our loud stuff, right? That's our mark on the car world, kind of. Japanese cars are very efficient and very micro-engineered. That's sort of the vibe that you can get with there. I don't know exactly where like small tiny wheels come from, but the tilty wheels, that's a feature known as camber. When wheels are perfectly up and down, perfectly aligned, that's known as having zero camber. You have like, perfect alignment. What a lot of people will do is tilt them in. It gives the aesthetic of a race car. If you go look at actual race cars, like we're talking high performance stuff, they will have a little bit of tilt in their wheels. And that helps with cornering stuff. Cause you can imagine if you're taking a corner really, really fast, your car is kind of slung to one side and it sort of levels out the tires. So it might be a little tilty on the straight, but when you're turning really hard, the wheels will actually straighten out. And so people like the look of that, right? It looks like a race car. So people will add that little detail to their cars to kind of give that illusion.
That's so interesting. We saw one the other day. Felix and I were looking at it and we're like, he's like, maybe it's because the wheels are so big that they have to tilt it that way.
Yes.
And I was just like, I can't imagine the wear on that, because you wouldn't be able to rotate the tires properly because they would be uneven.
Yep. I have a roommate that has a Nissan 350Z that he's got quite a bit of camber he runs on his cars, and he goes through a set of tires yearly when he's driving that thing.
Jeez.
And these are not cheap tires either. These are kind of performance tires that we're putting on these vehicles. And here he is running through a pair a year because he has this just a little bit of camber on his vehicle.
Is there more of like a risk of using a camber as opposed to a regular wheel?
There is safe ways of doing it, and generally when it's just a little bit, anywhere from the range is about 0 to 5 degrees is agreed to be safe, and maybe even if you track the car, get a little bit of performance out of it. But anything beyond that, and you will see people go beyond that, no, it generally isn't super safe. Now, it completely depends on the person. Sometimes you get people doing proper builds, these really nice cars, and they know that, so they don't street drive the car. This is strictly a show car that they'll come around. But sometimes you also get some 16-year-olds that are like, I want a lot of camber. And so they'll go and do some very bad things and give themselves a lot of tilty wheels. And yes, that can be very dangerous when you don't know what you're doing.
A teenage driver is already a very dangerous thing.
Exactly.
Oh my God. You know what? I remember driving behind this truck, and it was definitely like an old, not super well taken care of truck. I don't know what was going on with its alignment.
Uh-oh.
But it was like the front wheels were planted and the back wheels were maybe to the right, like 2 or 3 inches. So I could see like the front left wheel slightly in front of the. It was like it's like when a dog walks sideways on a leash.
Yes.
Yeah, it was definitely the alignment. I'm like, how are you driving this right now? Like, how is this?
I want to know how people do that.
That's usually the result.
It's aesthetically frustrating to look at.
That is usually the result of a car accident. That's usually where that comes from. Yes.
Just go take care of that, my man.
Yeah,
there's no way.
No, if that ever happened to a vehicle that I would not be driving that.
No,
anymore. Absolutely not.
The first Element I owned, I can't remember what the part was, but after I hit this deer, I spent a good bit of money fixing it, but there was still.
I remember when you hit, because you messaged me when that happened.
Yeah, because I was panicking. I was still a teenager, dude. I didn't know what to do. When I would, slightly turn my steering wheel to the right, the right side of the car would vibrate violently.
Uh-oh.
I think it had something to do with that spring. That spring that mechanics are scared of? I think it had something to do with that. Yeah. So to help combat this, whenever I would turn slightly to the right, like while driving on the highway, I would just jerk my wheel back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because it's like, I'm only turning my wheel to the right slightly for a second at a time. So my car would just be dancing on the highway.
Oh my God.
Before I thought I was drunk.
Whoops.
Jeez. My dad had like a 1998 Jeep Cherokee. Ooh. And we would always go to like the air shows that the Air Force would put on. But there was this one particular year and the car had gone through so much repair and we couldn't figure out what was wrong with this. But if you hit it at a specific speed, the car would jiggle and then it would make this like noise. So we were in like this long like car line to get into the parking lot, and my dad has this great idea. If everyone else is stuck in with us, we're gonna annoy the hell out of them. So he does this like 5-mile-per-hour crawl. It's just like this. It's so bad, but I couldn't help but laugh. And we're also listening to car talk at the same time. So it was just that car was something else.
I love old Jeeps. So crazy.
I was just about to ask you what your opinion of Jeeps are.
I love Jeeps. Jeeps are great. I love them. I've never owned one. I've never known anyone to own one. But
really, that's surprising. I feel like a lot of car nerds just know a lot about Jeeps.
Yeah, I mean they're simple, and I think that's why people are drawn to them. So that is certainly an appeal to them.
A lot of people in the Element community have beef with Jeeps. I'm like, why don't you guys just chill out? You're so salty for no reason.
It's probably the same beef with people who drive Subarus.
Lesbians?
Yeah, mostly, but I don't know. I feel like there's this. Is there a thing about Subarus? Is there like some weird thing that people just don't like them for a reason?
No, I've never heard that before, but maybe.
I don't know about general people, but I mean, everyone has their car that they're super passionate about, and they'll find some reason, true or not, to hate every other car that isn't that car, so people are passionate.
I'll tell you what's a stupid looking cars, those smart cars.
The little guys. Oh my gosh.
Our pizza delivery guy drives a smart car.
They're just so small. I feel like if you fart in that thing, it's going to blow up.
Oh, it's so over for you.
There's no way. Like, okay, this is what I love seeing is like opposites of what you would expect someone to be driving a car. Is when you see a big old fat tall person driving a smart car, and then you have like a tiny elderly woman who's driving this huge honking like raised truck, and it makes
Oh, yeah.
absolutely no
I
sense.
love that. The dichotomy is great.
So I feel like I have no idea about, like, I only know things about individual, like, cars in general and certain car groups, because I guess that's the only exposure I have. Like, there's the Jeep people, there's people in Honda Elements, there's a lot of
Yes.
people into RAV4s, and they kind of just congregate. Like, those are the ones that I've seen. But, like, when it comes to car culture as a whole, I have no idea how that works. Can you, like, kind of, I guess, like, car culture for dummies it for us?
Absolutely. I'll do my best here. It's so big. And like I had mentioned, kind of prior, car culture means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So, sort of the rough, just quick kind of history. People, humans, little people, we're very ingenuitive and creative. Just people. And I love that about people so much. And, industrial revolution's coming about in the 19th century, and we start making machines and factories and everything like that. And we're educating people, we're teaching them how to build and do things. And that's sort of bleeding over into daily life. And lo and behold, here comes the idea of personal transport in the form of a car in, nearly enough 1900. And for as long as humans have been around, we have always wanted to see who is faster. For as long as someone's been able to put one foot in front of the other,
Yes.
racing is in our blood. Whether it's, on Mount Olympus in the 1400s, whenever, or whether it's on the prairie between two cowboys on horses, we love racing. And so racing started when the second car was born. That's what they say. So, and with people getting more skills and using tools and stuff like that, it just sort of became natural to tinker with these things. And there were a lot of points in history you can kind of point at and say, here's where car culture began. And one of the biggest that's talked about is veterans returning from World War II. We taught them how to maintain all these war machines and how to build them and how to tune them and things like that nature. And so they come back and they have these skills that they didn't have before, and they're just sitting around doing nothing with them. Well, I've got a car in my garage. I can tinker around with that. And hey, look at that. It runs just like my Jeep did whenever I was deployed. So that's sort of one of the big points that people point to of where this car culture started and, modifying vehicles. As for the reason people identify so strongly with them, it's hard to point to exactly one thing, but it being a personalized transport machine, that's the idea of what this thing is. And you get to choose what color it is, what model is, what it looks like in, to some extent, if you want to go that far, what it sounds like, what wheels do you want on it? And so it's sort of very easy to make it an extension of yourself and say, this is how this is a thing that I'm going to show off to the world. And so, combine this all together and you start to get the startings of car culture, modern day car culture, and where it comes from. And now, it's in toys, it's in all sorts of media and marketing. And so it's natural to grow up on this and develop this as a lifestyle and a huge hobby. And it branches out into so many different things from there. There's so many different points in history that started new different types of car culture, anywhere from collecting to restoration to racing to, just some people will get wrapped up in how many miles a gallon they can get their car. There's so many different ways to approach it. And so that's another part of why it's so approachable is you can find what parts fit you and what you enjoy doing and make the hobby, fit around that. It's a really fun one to get into for a lot of people that like to tinker and mess with things.
God, I know for me, it was just like the idea of like freedom. Like, this is yours and you can control, like, now you can control where you get to go. And when you live in like you live in Oklahoma, so I'm sure you get this. If you live in a small town and in the middle of nowhere, because I did not live in Atlanta as a young kid. I lived in the sticks. Having something that could take me somewhere else by my choice was just incredible.
Absolutely. Freedom is a huge part of it, because that's, not everyone starts appreciating cars or car culture when they're a child like I did. Some people, it comes when they get their first car, and it's really easy for anyone to get attached to it. This is your car that you drive every day. You practically live in this thing. Some people will go and name their vehicles. A lot of people do that. It's a very
Do you have a name
practice
for yours? Your blue one?
I actually don't.
What?
I know. This shocks a lot of people.
Just call it Bluey.
Bluey's a great name. Honestly, it's weird. A lot of car guys, and you'll hear this a lot in car culture, that cars have a soul. People get really attached to that, and they will personify their cars a lot. It's a little different for me in the fact that I have built this car piece by piece. And rather than its own being, it's more of an extension of me. This car has my blood, sweat, and tears in it. It's more, I see it more of an extension of myself than I do another being that I go out and name. And it really is just a part of me at this point. But I totally get that for other people. And many of my other vehicles, yes, will get named and will get personified a bit more than my car.
What other vehicles do you have?
Too many.
Are you a collector?
Not per se. I want to do it all, right? There's nothing I want to be bound to. There's nothing strictly that I am overly passionate about to say I'm one or the other. I like
So you're not a Jay Leno.
No, I'm not a Jay Leno. I can certainly appreciate that. But one of my foundations that I love about cars is that I want to build the car the way I want to drive it. So I'm the one building the car always. I'm the one working on my car always. I get to drive the car, I get to drive my car the way I want to. So, and that looks different depending on what the car is that I'm having. So my 78 Firebird, I have built it in such a way that I can drive it hard. I autocross the car, so that's a form of racing where people will come together in a very large parking lot with permission and set up a little cone course. And whoever can do the cone course the fastest, that's the race, right? So autocross is a great deal of fun and teaches you a lot about driving. And it's very easy to get into. That was sort of the appeal to me. I want to even go further than that. I haven't had the opportunity to yet, but I want to go on actual tracks and drag race the car. I want to show the car. This is my car that I want to do everything with. But I've got many other vehicles as well. I don't daily my Firebird. It gets a nice, pretty climate controlled garage to live in. My daily is a 2007 Ford Focus, passionately named the Fuckus, that my friends and I call it. It has been so abused because I didn't own a truck for a very, very long time, but I haul a lot of stuff. This hobby naturally lends itself pretty easily to carrying heavy objects, namely engines and transmissions and axles and who knows what. So I have always called this Focus my work truck for a long time. A great example being the engine that I have in my Firebird now. I transported back and forth between places, mainly the machine shop and other garages and stuff like that, in my Focus, back in the trunk. And we were in a hurry one day taking it to the machine shop and it was raining, so I just kind of threw it in the trunk, not really thinking about where it was positioned or anything. The first corner I take out of the drive-through, it was standing vertically up and down, and it had fallen over and punched a hole in my trunk, unfortunately. So quite a heavy object to do that, but that's my daily car that I use for every day. It's not modified anything other than just maintenance. It's well taken care of, or at least I try to keep it going. But recently I've acquired a truck, so it can now breathe easy knowing it doesn't have to carry any more lumber or engines or any other thing that might accidentally punch a hole in it. So
I high-key want a Toyota Tacoma.
Oh, Tacomas are beautiful trucks. They're very nice trucks.
I want an older Toyota Tacoma.
Oh, I would love.
I want a Jeep. It's just because they're good for like tall people because I'm like 6'5".
True.
So
yes,
I need a car that has a leg space.
Yes.
And head space.
Yes, the Fuckus is quite a small car. We've towed vehicles with that vehicle, and it should never tow a vehicle, but we've needed to, and we're in a pinch, and I don't have a truck, but this little tiny car has done some pretty amazing feats, I'd say.
I think it's so funny that you see a lot of these videos of people trying to tow a car without actually using the designated tow.
Oh, yeah.
Like on their car, and they like rip the bumper off, and I'm like, no. You idiots!
Yes.
They're so conveniently placed, it's not that hard to find.
Yes. Oh, God. One quick story. Work, big parking lots at work, where I work. And when it snows, particularly a lot, they'll get a snowplow out and clear out all the snow, and they'll pile it up right at the end of the parking lot, and it usually takes up maybe a parking spot or two. Well, some guys that had some Jeeps were parking up on this snow hill, look at my, kind of trying to look cool, and I was like, I can do that. So I pull my Focus up and park on this 3-4 foot mound of snow and go to work, go about my day, get a lot of comments, get a lot of laughs. Well, end of the day rolls around, and I'm trying to back the Focus off the pile of snow, and the snow had melted throughout the day enough that my car had kind of sunk in it.
Oh, no.
And my poor bumper was just completely ripped off when coming down the snow. It had just grabbed it and just completely tore its face off. It was terrible. And so now, currently, and still is, the bumper is tied to the rest of the vehicle using an old iPhone charging cord.
Oh, that's great. When I had shit like that happen, I used pipe clamps.
Yeah, also acceptable. Probably more acceptable than an iPhone charging cord.
It gives character. It's fine.
I want to see this now. It's so ridiculous.
Yes, it is quite ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, there's this, I don't know if he's a YouTuber or if he's a TikToker, but I see a lot of his videos and I don't remember what his name is, but I believe he lives in Europe and he does all of these wacky, crazy experiments with his car.
Oh.
Like one he did with his team, they actually created a tire, 4 tires out of duct tape.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
And then they drove it and they kept driving it until like the thing like fell apart, which was awesome. It went pretty far. I was actually quite shocked.
That is impressive.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know the phrase MacGyvering, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the most MacGyvered thing you've done to a car besides the iPhone charger?
I mean, that's pretty good. Man.
Have you ever poured maple syrup on the belt?
No, I've not ever done that. I can't say I've seen that. I've seen it. I try my best to do things the correct way, just for peace of mind of my own. Now, I have someone else's vehicle was having a really squeaky belt, and we were testing out ideas. And there's a video on TikTok going around of someone using deodorant on the belt.
Yeah, I saw that. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, there's no way this works. And so he's like, I gotta stick a deodorant. And I'm like, all right, let's. We're trying this. And so pop up the hood, belt squeaking away, get the deodorant out, rub it on there. Sure enough, the belt squeak goes away. And God damn it. What the?
I would think that by lubing it up like that, it would actually make it slip more. But
I mean, it depends on, what side of the belt you're doing and stuff like that. It's generally not a great idea. The idea is that it's conditioning the belt. The belts can dry out, and that's usually what can cause the squeak. And so by adding just a little bit of grease or a little bit of lube, nothing too much that's going to cause it to lose grip, can help liven up the belt a little bit. In theory.
In theory.
That's ridiculous.
It's good to do things correctly, but sometimes you're just a poor college kid and gotta do what you can.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think the iPhone charging cord's definitely the worst.
I mean, it worked.
It did. The bumper's still on today.
Yeah.
Same charging cord.
Who'd have thunk?
The end of that cord is completely all rusty and gross and brown, but hey, the cord is still held together right now.
As long as it's
my car that I currently have, literally like the back left siding of it was held together by duct tape. I didn't know this because they had painted over it, but so whoever did restoration on this car before did not do a good job, but they did a good enough job to cover it up. Like the paint job was phenomenal. But what happened was I was sitting at a stoplight at night and a cop actually rear-ended me.
Whoa.
Yeah. So they paid for everything. That wasn't the issue. But I went and got it taken care of and they were rebuilding it. And the mechanic, he called me. He's like, hey, I want to show you something real quick. So I come over, coincidentally, in a Jeep rental, which was awesome. And he shows me, he's like, so I don't know what happened to this car before, but if you take your finger and you push on this side, you'll just poke right through it. And I poked right through it. I'm like, what the what? He's like, yeah, luckily this area was part of the damage, so we'll just replace it.
Nice. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Can't say I've ever seen
what the hell?
That's wild.
Yeah, it was like really, really shoddy work. I am shocked, but at the same time, I'm like, not shocked.
I've sent you a photo on Twitter of the iPhone cable.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, you can see it just weaved through any place that I could find to hold the bumper in place.
Oh my God. Wow. I'm going to send this to you, Sparrow.
Hell yeah.
See this. I can't believe that worked. That's such a huge iPhone cable, too.
Yeah, it was a 10-foot cable.
Wow.
It was a very long one. Thankfully, I had that on hand.
I mean, I guess if it works, it works. You could use zip ties for all you care,
Yeah, that was the idea, but I was like, it's held, and I've just sort of forgotten about it. And I go, oh my gosh, I was supposed to replace that with zip ties. It's fine. It's still on the car.
Our listeners are going to see this photo. They're going to be like, what the fuck?
I feel like if you think about it, being the MacGyver, just like one of the, I feel like it could be one of the types of car enthusiasts.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Some people will definitely pride themselves on their wildest repairs. That's certainly an aspect of it, 100%.
While we're on the topic of enthusiasts, let's go over the different types of car enthusiasts.
Absolutely.
So there's something called the collector. Do you know what the collector is?
I mean, yeah, basically, they're just the guy that likes to collect the vehicles, for lack of better words. Exactly, yes. People will do it for different reasons. Some people view cars as a piece of art and a piece of history, and that's absolutely an aspect to approach it. And so rather than drive the vehicles and use the vehicles, they can collect them and preserve them and keep them nice and shiny. And some, occasionally they'll bring them to shows and out and stuff like that. And this is more so done with the rarer vehicles. You typically won't see a Toyota Prius in a collection of sorts, but
did you call it a Prius?
Yeah. Prius.
Prius.
Tomato.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, so depends on the car, but usually this is reserved for the more expensive, typically classic cars. I'm seen this way. But yeah, collecting is definitely an aspect of it for sure.
I don't even think like 30, 50, 100 years from now, no one's going to be restoring a Prius. Who would want to restore a Prius?
There's something for everyone, Space.
I guess.
I'm going to take a bold claim here, and I'm going to disagree with you. I think the Prius will go down as a future collectible car because everyone thinks they're trash now, and people will throw them away. But the Prius...
It's a good car. I've driven it before.
It's a great car. It's one of the best cars ever.
And they have an amazing sound system in it. I don't know what it is, but like I played the bass and the whole car shook and I'm like, what the what? I want one.
I think these are going to go down as a cult classic is sort of the name that goes around them. It's not going to be a car for everyone, in the future, but there's going to be a dedicated group of people that are going to keep these things going as long as they can. The Prius is absolutely going to be one of those cars, I'm predicting.
What do you think about Sparrow's Element?
The Element, I love the Honda Element. I think it's another great vehicle. I can't say I see that one. I don't think the Element had as big of an impact on the market and cars as the Prius did. So I can't say.
They did not sell well at all.
It sort of was just a car, so I think that one might be in the history pages in the future.
Well, they're running out. There's not many left. That's why so many like Element enthusiasts are like, sell it to another enthusiast because it's going to get it as soon as it gets like totaled, even if it's worth fixing.
Yep.
If you don't sell it to an enthusiast, it's going to disappear.
Yeah. So,
was it Chrysler? I think it's Chrysler. They made a retro looking.
The PT Cruiser.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
God, my partner had one of those. I hated that
but
thing.
They break down all the time from what I understand.
All the time. So these, what a fascinating story behind these. This was sort of in the mid 2000s. A lot of companies, cars and other technology companies were bringing back this sort of retro vibe, right?
I think it's really cool.
Yes. I love them. I think they're quirky and I love them. I think they're fun and funny. So the PT Cruiser was perfect example of that. They were bringing back the styling of these station wagons from the 1940s and 50s, and they sold like hotcakes. Oh my gosh. Anyone who was alive back in the day was buying one of these cars. Anyone who wanted to own one of those old classic cars when they were a child are buying these PT Cruisers. They sold by the millions. And so there were just so many on the road. And, anytime a car is popular, it's naturally going to have a lot of support for it. A lot of mechanics are going to learn how to work on these things because there's a lot of them. A lot of spare parts are going to be made for these things because there's so many of them. And so that even just further cemented its legacy as just being one of these cars that in retrospect was a shitty car. But they're around. They are the people that drive these things are dedicated to getting them as every single last dollar that they spent on this car. They are taking them to the end of the earth and back. It's insane how the dedication that some of these owners have to a PT Cruiser.
I think there was another style. I don't know if it was Ford. They also created a retro looking type of vehicle.
Maybe the Thunderbird. That was Ford's kind of attempt at it.
No. Oh, maybe it is. Let me look.
Ford Thunderbird. It was sort of around the same time as the PT Cruiser. Maybe the Chevy HHR, that was another one.
Okay, I think it was the Thunderbird.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and it was like a modern version of it.
Yes.
It was kind of cool looking.
They get a lot of hate because I think for whatever reason people think they're so hideous.
I think of it like a beach car, like a car you would drive on the coast kind of a thing.
I don't mind them. I think they're kind of, again, I like the classics. It's certainly more interesting to look at than a Toyota Camry. So I can't hate it for that. It's trying. So I don't mind them as much.
Something I like about retro cars is the black tire with the white stripe.
Oh, yes.
Dude, I love white wall tires. I want to
white wall. Oh.
I want to get, not white wall tires. I mean, I would love white wall tires, honestly, but they would just get so fucking dirty. I just want some tires with the text is white. That's my next goal.
Yes, white letter tires are also very popular.
White letter tires.
I haven't seen, white walls are kind of a trend that's not really hitting the car market right now, the car enthusiast world. But I did see one of the new Ford Broncos. They've brought back that retro styling. I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
Yeah.
Someone had painted it they gave it an old paint style, like an old Bronco, and they put white walls on it. And it was beautiful. It looked so good. I was driving at the time, and I wish I had a picture of it. I've never seen someone do this. But it was just new age vehicle painted to look like an old one with these white wall tires. It was pulled off so well. I loved seeing
cool.
that.
I love the Broncos. A lot of people keep saying they're not safe, but I don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, I haven't heard anything like too unsavory about the Bronco. I think the very first year of them, they were kind of rushed, and a lot of cars put out in the time during the COVID era have some teething issues, and the Bronco is they definitely had some as well. The roof
probably safer than the Tesla truck.
I
bet it could drive in the snow better too.
Probably. I bet you're right. I'm willing to bet you're right. But yeah, I think the roofs had some leaky issues. That's kind of the worst that I've heard about the Broncos.
One car I didn't like, or I guess you call it an SUV, I didn't like the redo modern version of it, was the Hummer.
The new, like the electric one? Okay.
Not the newest one, but when they brought a Hummer to the consumers.
Yes. So back in the kind of early to mid to late 2000s era.
Yeah, I didn't like it. My dad used to drive a Hummer, like a military one. We could take it on campouts. Those things are awesome. They're huge and they're so spacious. And then I see this thing and I'm like, I don't know. It kind of looks like, someone took a ball of gum and put some tires on it. No, it's really they're beefy looking, but it's not like the classic. I like what the original looks like.
Yes, they kind of they're called the H3s, the Hummer 3s. They kind of look like a toy car, like a toy version of what the actual Hummer was supposed to be. That's always what they reminded me of.
Yeah, and they paint them with what I like to call milky colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it always throws me off because I see those and I'm like, what?
Yep.
Hummer was my dream car when I was a little kid before I knew how gas guzzly they were.
True, very true. Yeah, you don't see many of them around anymore.
Hummers?
I see a few, but maybe it's just city folk thinking they're cool.
It could be a location thing because I can't say I've seen any in a long time, especially even at car meets and stuff like that. The Hummer back in the day, 10 years ago, you'd see some still, but I can't say I've seen one in a minute.
Most common cars or vehicles I see in Utah are the Teslas, not the truck, just the regular Teslas. Yeah. And then just boatloads of trucks. Oh my God, people here love their trucks.
Yes.
Oh, space. Okay, here's an interview question for you. Is there a stereotypically Mormon car?
Okay, so yes and no. The van, okay? Mormons love vans.
Well,
so
hey, they gotta carry around a bunch of people, so
Yeah, they do. And they do that, or they buy these big honking Cadillacs, like the biggest thing you can think of, because they have to have their kids in luxury of some sort.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
It's just ridiculous. And of course, it's always just Relief Society woman, she's just kind of petite, driving this huge honking vehicle. And I'm just like, I don't think you can appreciate the power that's in this vehicle right now. Nothing against women. I just don't think you are the right fit for this vehicle.
She can appreciate it in the power of a Costco trip.
Yeah, for sure.
That sure. Oh man, the back seat folds down. Imagine all the groceries you could get back there. I'm sure they're loving it.
Seriously though, let's talk about the tuner. What is the tuner?
Absolutely. So the tuners are more of the guys, more kind of blue collary in the sense that they can't have a bunch of money to go out and collect a bunch of cars. So what they're going to do is they're going to get their one car. And it might not even be that nice of a car, maybe sort of a lower end car on what they're thought of. And they're going to modify it, tune it, build it so that it can compete with a lot of these higher end cars. They're sort of known as the weekend warrior, the blue collar worker, maybe even, and just especially young people, because we don't have money to go out and buy a whole collection of fancy cars. So what we're going to do is modify our cars and make them into what we want. That's sort of the angle that they take. And again, depending on the car, depending on the country, it looks like a lot of different things to a lot of different people. America, we're known for our muscle cars, right? That's sort of where we started our American car culture. So a lot of people will get these old muscle cars and soup them up with really big engines and loud exhaust like that. But in Japan, you might have more of the angle where you're more worried about turbocharging or making the engine that you already have super, super efficient and light, So lots of different ways to take it depending on where and what you're looking for. But that's basically the tuner in a nutshell.
This kind of goes right into the next one, the racer.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's you, right?
Yeah. Well, I like to think I'm a little bit of everything. I will say I'm not the greatest driver on the racetrack. It takes a certain type of person. I'm not terrible, but I know a lot of people that are better than me. And it's a skill that I'm learning to refine for sure. So I'd like to think that my angle, I'm more of a builder, more of a tuner. That's my favorite aspect of it, is actually modifying and working on the vehicles and getting them to work. And then, but part of that is definitely you need to be able to drive it, and see how these changes that you're making respond. And so the end of that is you need to have someone that can drive this car, which are typically the racers. So some people don't or can't work on their cars, and that's totally fine. Not everyone wants to get dirty and greasy. So you can have people have these mods put on your car by someone else, which is a totally acceptable way of doing it. And you're just more so focused on the driving aspect of it, which is, sort of the end goal, having this car to drive. And so people will take them to tracks, drag strips, even autocrossing or drifting. There's a lot of different motorsport to get into. And so the tuner and the racer go kind of hand in hand, where some people see them as one and the same, or very complementary to be the same person, but some people also work really well in teams. And that's an angle I take as well, where I'm like to think I'm particularly good at modifying and building, but some people are better at driving. So, but that's sort of the gist of that.
That this is a question that I just personally have as someone who is I wouldn't say I am in the car culture community, but I'm definitely want to be. I always felt like if you didn't know how to fix your own car, or if you didn't know all this information about how your car physically works, that you would just look like a poser or stupid in these communities. Because it's for me, I'm going to pay somebody else to fix my car, but I'm going to drive it, and when it's broken, I know how to detail it myself, but fuck, I don't know how to fix the timing belt.
Of course. And not everyone does. Hardly anyone does. I will say furries get this a lot, where everyone thinks that you need a fursuit to be a furry.
Yes.
You hear this a lot, but that's absolutely not even remotely true. You can just appreciate cars as cars and still be as into car culture as people that are spending weekends and money out here, turning wrenches. It is absolutely more than acceptable to just appreciate cars and driving them, especially. That's what we're here to celebrate is driving these things. So,
that is so comforting.
Absolutely. I know a lot of people that go to car meets and car culture are in the same boat. They don't know necessarily how to work on their cars, but they have a car and they like their car. So they want to go to these meets and show it and celebrate it with other people. And that's totally more than acceptable.
Yeah, they'll probably get it restored. They'll go to someone else because they don't know how to do it themselves.
Yep.
And that's totally fine.
Yep. There have been times where I try to do all the work on my car, but sometimes it doesn't work out because sometimes I get in way over my head. There have been plenty of examples where I get in way over my head and I'm like, I need help. And so I know some shops that will get involved in the crazy shenanigans that I get up to, and they can help. They can lend a hand when I need hand.
That's cool.
Yes.
With racing cars, so the first thing that I think comes up to my mind is the more Japanese looking type modifications where they actually do lower the car lower to the ground.
Yep.
They have fins and all these types of things.
Yes.
Does that really do anything, or is that just for looks?
It's a bit of both. So we'll start with race cars. There's no doubt this is a race car. It is not even a real car, right? This is let's look at something like an F1 car. this is a race car. This was never designed to be on the street. It is only designed to be on the track. There are certain things and ways that they build this car that sort of trickle down into the rest of the car scene. Now, there's different levels of racing. So F1 is usually thought of as the most advanced, the most like peak. Like some of the fastest cars on the planet are like F1 cars and Indy cars and stuff like that. And, below that, you'll have like GT cars, which sort of much more resemble a real car, but they've been heavily modified by these large companies and groups of racers to perform a lot better than a road car normally would. And even below that, you've got kind of spec racing, where this is basically just a road car that was, with a few modifications like tires and stuff like that, was just put on the racetrack. And then even below that, you've got stuff where I'm at, where people just autocross and race their vehicles. There's no governing or sanctioning race body. This is just people having fun. And so you get this sort of trickle down effect of where, hey, this team is running some tilty tires and some fins on their car. I'm going to do that too, because clearly those guys are smart. So sometimes it can actually help. And, there are a lot of different modifications that you can do to your car to actually improve it. And so a lot of people will play with aero and lowering and stuff like that to change geometry. And, there's a lot of proven stuff that you can do to help your car. And some people just do it because they like the way it looks. And so it may not even necessarily be helpful. And in some cases, they can even be hindrances, but people just like the way they look. So
it's a hindrance when they have to go over a bump.
Definitely.
I mean, you really wouldn't be able to take that car very far. I mean, given like different types of roads and their dips.
Yep. And you look at someone go down the road in a very low car like that, and they are a completely different driver. They're looking for potholes. They're looking 2 feet in front of them, and like you're seeing them swerve all around the road. And I know what he's doing. Like he's dodging a leaf that was on the road that he would have caught. But yes. Lots of different aspects to it.
Like adding their lights to their cars. I don't mind that. I think that's okay. That's cool.
Yes. I think lights are... I am a huge supporter of LEDs. Let me caveat to that. Not the super bright ass ones that you see in the highway with some fuck ass truck following you, shining their big ass...
Oh my God. It hurts
annoying.
so bad. It's so bad.
So annoying. However, I like the colorful ones that people will put on their cars, especially the underglow. This is sort of a trend that was done in the early 2000s. You've seen a lot in Need for Speed where people will put glowing lights underneath their car. And that was done with neon, like a gas, back in the day. And it was a trend that kind of died off, as car culture progressed. It was seen as kind of cringy maybe to be doing that. But now with LEDs, and they've gotten super cheap and very easy to work with, they're coming back. And now they look really good and really vibrant, and you can control them to make all sorts of different light shows and colors. And I love that it's such a quirky detail that I love.
It'd be kind of cool to see if someone did like a UV paint job.
Oh, I've seen that.
It would only show up with the UV light at night.
Yes. No, there are people that do. There's so many quirky paint jobs that people can do. And I've seen UV paint like that before, where they will like bring black lights and stuff with them. And it reveals this really cool looking like race car style livery, Whereas in the daytime, it just looks like a completely normal car. So it's people get really creative with the paint and the lights and the way they can do their car. It's really cool.
So this isn't necessarily like a cool paint job or anything, but my cousin, who I'm very, very close with, they bought an old ass Buick.
Oh, yeah.
From their mom, but their mom's a piece of shit, like disowned them, right? And their last hoorah of finally like completely disowning their mother was paying off their payment plan to get this Buick, paying it off, and then immediately just taking some like acrylic paint, and over the next like year, me and them would get together every now and then and just paint random like squiggles and triangles and circles just all over this old ass Buick. And it was literally just acrylic paint with some Mod Podge. It was like, we're just having fun here. It's going to wash off in the rain. And when it washes off in the rain, we'll just add some more. And just this shitty, terrible, it looked like Hobby Lobby just kind of threw up on this old Buick. But so many compliments from so many different types of people on that shitty car.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I do love that. I will say something somewhat similar. I'm sending a photo of this to you on Twitter now. The Toyota Corona. This is actually the Toyota Corona that was mentioned before. At FWA, we had a stand set up where anyone could come up and paint on this vehicle with washable paint. And we're definitely going to be bringing that back. And
that is awesome.
Get some all sorts of crazy stuff. It was such a fun little thing that we did. We're definitely bringing that back. So
very excited.
So cool.
Well, now I got to think of something to paint on there.
Yes, absolutely.
You could always do like the sticker car. I hate. Okay, it's one thing, Sparrow. I know that you like your stickers.
You're allowed to hate my sticker space. It's okay.
No, it's fine. I'm okay with it. But it's when like people go over the top and like their hood is just smothered in stickers, and I'm just like, gross.
They call that sticker bombing. That's what they call it.
See, mine.
Good luck trying to sell that.
Mine isn't sticker bombed. It is strategically placed stickers, but they're strategically placed everywhere.
I love that. Yes. I'm not a huge sticker I like the cleaner look personally, so I'll never hate on anyone for having stickers on their car, though. I appreciate them for sure.
Here, Zero. I'll send you a picture on Twitter of my car.
Oh, please.
The next one is the off-roader, which I think is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, more or less. It's still an interesting one to talk about. Because maybe a lot of these people aren't necessarily focused on speed, or racing, which is kind of what we've talked about a lot so far. But more so the fact that they can get from point A to B, or point A to point B, in the strangest way possible. And there's the whole community is built around this, of finding the most navigatable terrain and building a car that can go through the mud that's 5 feet deep, or over rocks that are taller than me, something like that. And it is definitely a sport in and of itself.
That's my favorite thing to watch.
Yes.
It's slow, but I'm watching.
It is. Yes. It's very strategic. You'll see they usually have, like, for the extreme examples, they'll have spotters, people standing outside of the vehicle watching a tire and then another one on the other tire, and they're relaying to the driver, hey, turn, 2 degrees this way, 2 degrees that way, rotate the tire just a little bit. It's definitely a sport that goes into it. That's super interesting to watch.
Oh man, seen the crawlers, the ones that go up the canyons?
Absolutely.
Damn. That I'm sure is expensive.
They absolutely can be. Yes. My favorite form of off-roading that I've not done yet, I want to get into this, is like sand buggies.
Yeah.
Like going to the dunes.
Yes. There's even a place in Oklahoma called the Little Sahara. It's a really cute little desert that has like these great dunes and stuff like that. And you can rent like dune buggies and stuff. And I so desperately want to get up there one day. I want even to own my own dune buggy would be so cool. I love sand dunes and buggies like that. It's so cool.
That is awesome.
Yes.
And I guess the last one, but I'm sure there's more types of enthusiasts.
Sure. Yes.
The EV enthusiast.
Yes. It's a brand new one to the culture world, right? A lot of different angles to approach this, because it's actually kind of a lie that EVs are recent. It's just sort of that they've taken on an evolution over the past decade or so. Because if you actually go back to the 1970s and 80s and 90s, there actually were EVs around. They were shitty, very bad cars, but they had their own cult following of people that were dedicated to these little electro boxes, and typically they were normal cars that were converted to EV, and it was sort of a pride thing that they could do that, and it really was cool, and they usually do a very good job at it. It wasn't until the kind of 2010s that EVs really took off. Tesla had to do a lot with that, with their bringing it to the masses kind of thing. Tesla was sort of the first one to bring in a semi-affordable, like, range competitive electric car and got people's attention that way. But they were mass produced vehicles and generally considered nicer than the EVs that had come in the decades prior. And so with that came a whole new wave of enthusiasts that were in it just for the EVs, and which is good in one hand, because you get a whole bunch of people that weren't really interested in cars now able to be interested in cars, since this is their preferred method of transportation. And then double-edged sword on the other hand, as we've seen, and especially in the past few years, especially, the Tesla crowd has been they've made a name for themselves as being quite different. I don't know how rude I want to be here, but
elitist.
Yeah,
I'd say elitist and quirky.
And quirky.
That absolutely a very, very good words for that. Some of them can definitely come across that way. I want to iterate that not all of them are, but definitely it seems like a loud minority, maybe definitely 100% are that way, that they have this elitist attitude towards EVs over other vehicles, which is funny considering their cars aren't typically the greatest. It depends what metric we're looking at here, but
yeah.
they have their problems, that's for sure. But yeah, the EV enthusiast is definitely here to stay, and can be a lot of different things as well. So
that's only going to grow.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Well, and when Prius first came out, that was kind of like just new to the market.
Yes.
But if you look at EVs now, they're incorporating it into like off-road, trucks, racing cars. Like they're going across the board, and they seem to be doing pretty well performance-wise.
Yes,
so
no, definitely
shocking.
Yeah, there's some things that EVs are very good at, and some things that EVs are very bad at. They are very quick. There's no doubt about that. Now, one of the biggest hindrances and one of their biggest hurdles that they have to overcome when entering car culture and car enthusiasm is there's not really a whole lot you can do with them
because they're so like electronically.
Yeah,
it's like a microchip.
Yeah, very much like a microchip. What are you supposed to do with that? It's already built. I can't really get in there with my tool set and change anything. It's sort of as it is out of the box, and that's what you get. There's not really a lot you can do with that, which is unfortunate. And the reason why a lot of car enthusiasts that were here first aren't really getting into the EV situation, because what are they supposed to do with it? Their car that they have, they can toy with it all they want, but this EV is sort of just an appliance where they can't really do anything with it. So
I didn't even think about it that way.
Yeah.
And from what I understand too with Tesla is you're not just buying the car, but you're also buying a program that has to be used while using the car.
And aren't there like transactional fees too with some of them?
Yeah, and it's really expensive. Like one guy was telling me, he's like, yeah, my son finally got rid of his Tesla, and his monthly like kind of like the OnStar kind of program was like $500 a month just to get it to like do the basics. And I'm like, oh my God, so you're paying $500 on top of your payment. Good God.
I don't even think that's the most egregious example. I think it was, I don't want to blaspheme this car maker, but I think it was Mercedes that implemented a feature in one of their latest electric cars where you had to subscribe to use the heated seats in their car.
Stupid.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Which everyone just fucking clowned on them for that.
I'll just fart real big when I
so
get
ridiculous.
Absolutely insane.
Absolutely not.
It's weird to buy a car and then have to have a subscription service in order to use that car. Like it just seems not so great.
It's very anti-car culture. Like we talked about at the beginning, car culture to a lot of people is about the freedom of having their vehicle. When you start tacking all these subscription fees and rules to how you get to drive your car, well, people aren't just going to be interested in that. So it's been an interesting one for EVs entering the car culture world.
I think with EVs in general, I think what will be maybe their greatest like catch is that it's technologically advanced, and some people are just so tech forward that that's what they want.
Yes,
whereas there are other people who just like the mechanical aspects of a car.
Yes, for sure.
Good old EVs. All right, I'm gonna pickle us in here. Pickle. so
you fucked up.
Whatever. They can keep it.
Keep that pickle in.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep that pickle. There's a lot of the times they do.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Let's go into the community and culture of cars and stuff. So car meets and shows. What are some examples of those types of meets? What do they look like? How do people find out about them?
Yes. So one of the biggest things that is nationwide and in North America specifically, Cars and Coffee, or Coffee and Cars, depending on your location. It's sort of an East Coast way. It's like Hardee's and Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Some people call it Cars and Coffee. Some people call it Coffee and Cars. And I think it is literally an East Coast, West Coast divide. So it's kind of funny there. But yeah, Cars and Coffee is one of the best examples of this. It is an early morning on Saturday. Everybody wakes up. Everybody goes and meets in wherever the spot's at, usually a parking lot of some couple of businesses or something that help support the area. And it's all just about drinking coffee and talking cars. A lot of these places are found word of mouth or on Facebook groups. Facebook groups are a huge one for local communities specifically. You know, Twitter and other social media platforms are nice, but they're not really location based. And so being a car enthusiast, being your hobby being so much in person, can be a little bit harder to connect with other people that way. So Facebook's usually a general safe one for cars. And so, yeah, it's just all about you getting to show off your car and talk cars with other enthusiasts like that. And they're such big and good events. I'd recommend anyone who's remotely interested in cars to be attending them. Other than that, there are, race events like we've talked about. Similar thing, you can just go there and talk, but it's even better to participate and watch and encourage and help out in that way. And then things like auctions are another huge one. People just love going and attending. Like there are some very famous auctions like the Mecum auction or other things of that nature where rare cars from these collectors are brought to and sold and things like that. People really love enjoying that. And then there's sort of shows. I don't really know what to call them. Festivals might be a good word for that. Goodwood is a famous one where people will come
like the
together.
Barbecue restaurant?
Exactly like the barbecue. Yes. No. It's what's known as a hill climb, where it's sort of like a race event, but it's a little bit more casual, maybe, where you bring your car, usually as a team of people or a manufacturer, something like that, and you just race up the hill. And it's a timed event and everything like that. But it's also just a festival where there's lots of other things going on as well. That's not the only thing. So yeah, a lot of different ways to get involved in the community. And it's best to just talk to people and figure out what's around and what they like doing. And then you can get involved that way. Definitely talking to people is the best way.
When you attend like non-furry car meets, which is I'm sure the majority.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Like,
sorry.
what is the demographic of those? I swear to God, I'm not setting you up. I'm just genuinely curious because I know it used to be very like older men, but I wonder if that's changed.
Well, it depends. It's everything. That's what's nice. So Cars and Coffee specifically is prided on the fact that it is a generational gap. You will see young people there that just are bringing their first car for the first time. You will see groups of old men sitting in their lawn chairs with their cars out there. It's such a great event because you get a taste of everything. And beyond that, there are more specific generational types of car meets. Younger people, being the younger, more energetic people that they are, like having night car meets where they'll pick a gas station, pick a parking lot, and spread the word through Instagram, Snapchat, whatever their groups are using, and say, hey, we're having a meet here tonight, show up if you want. And it's just sort of the same thing. You come together and it's more focused in the demographic, whereas the older crowd might send out a word in the magazines or the newspapers, just like they did back in the day, and say, hey, we're going to have a car show in this lawn at this time of day. So there are events where you can get just sort of everyone and everything, but if you want to have your more demographic, your more focused peer groups, those definitely exist as well.
Cool.
And then there's also expos like SEMA.
Absolutely,
which
yes.
I guess you could say SEMA is the equivalent of CES to technology, SEMA to cars.
Yes. These are shows kind of put on by big companies, big and small, I should say. Sometimes, you get companies like Ford showing off their latest model, but you also get guys that are building stuff out of their garages, and they have their own, business and shop where they can build cars to come off and show off. And it's usually like high-end technology show off and performance and things like that. So yeah, another great avenue and events to attend. And again, you'll see lots of different types of people there.
What's the Geneva Auto Show?
The Geneva Auto Show is a show.
Is it in Switzerland? Because of Geneva.
You know what? I don't know where Geneva Auto Show. I'm looking this up as well. It is in Switzerland. Look at that.
Wow,
Look at that.
Look at that.
That's cool. I know geography.
I'm learning. That's so fascinating. I was like, I know it's not in America, but I don't know where it's at. So yeah.
Smarter than a fifth
grader. Look at
grader.
that, Switzerland. So that's sort of like peak of the peak, where you'll have some like crazy like Ferrari and Porsche and some really high-end stuff showing off their latest models. And this is where like the richest of the richest come to do their shopping. That's the Geneva Auto Show. Yes.
Like
known for their
and stuff.
Yes, exactly. Very high-end stuff there.
There's this really cool, she's kind of like on all platforms. I think she's mostly on TikTok and Instagram now. Mm-hmm. She has a YouTube channel. Her name is Supercar Blondie.
Yes. yes.
She does some of the coolest reviews of the most insane tech cars I have ever seen, and
Absolutely.
expensive ones too. Especially she'll go to like, I think she lives in Dubai.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like she'll be showing off like this beautiful looking like SUV that is just to the nines decked out. And I'm just like, oh my God, I would love to have that car, but not for that price tag.
Yes. I have seen some of her stuff. It's very fun content to watch. And it's
Yeah.
just so out there. And some of the stuff you see, it's great.
Are there any specific furry events and meetups?
Definitely. 2 pop out immediately. 1, which I help run, so I have to do a little bit of a plug here. The FWA car meet, Cars and Collars is what we're calling it, is the largest car fur meet, as far as we know, in the world. No one's challenged that yet, so we will hold that title. It's held in Atlanta, Georgia at the same time as FWA. And it is just anyone who wants to show off their vehicle, no matter what it is, can come and do that at the con. Doing it with the con makes it very easy for people who were already planning on attending the con to like double and have both events. You don't have to go out of your way to just do single day car meet or something like that. You get the con experience and you get the meet experience. It was one of the coolest events that I've ever been to and been able to help with. So it is just sort of we meet in the parking garage and just sort of talk cars, furries, and everything about them. It lasts as long as you want it to last. I think, we'll have a starting time and then it'll just run off into the night. People are there talking cars and meeting people that are like them. And it's such a great experience if you're remotely interested in vehicles.
Do you have to contact the parking deck at all, like to reserve an area, or is it just, we're going to try and get up there?
So we do get in touch with the owners of this particular garage to get permission to do this. Now, there's no guarantee on a reservation or anything like that, but we do take the top floors of the garage, which no one usually. In this one, it's a really nice garage, a really big garage.
It's usually the garage I park in just to go to the con.
Yeah, yes, I like it because it's close to the con. Now, a lot of people will park there's I think garages underneath the hotel, and I think a lot of people will do those. But because this one's kind of to the side, I like it. It's got security at night, so your vehicles are generally very agreed upon to be very safe and watched over. And then we take the top floors of the thing. So, a lot of people don't necessarily want to wind all the way up the garage if they're just trying to park for the con. So generally those have been very open and we've not really been competing for space. So that's been nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Other than the FWA meet though, there is, I believe it's called Furry Takeover. There's a road in the Appalachians called the Tail of the Dragon.
Oh yeah.
Yes. It runs the spine of some of these Appalachian mountains, and it goes through a couple of states, I believe, Tennessee and Georgia, in that area. And I believe it's held in the fall, October maybe. There's a weekend where they get out there with a lodge and have this huge car fur meet and drive. That's the beauty of this event, is that you actually get to drive with other people and furries and enthusiasts together in a convoy of sorts. And there's all sorts of photographers and videographers there. Huge. I have not, unfortunately, been able to make it out to that event yet, but I absolutely want to one day. It looks like such a fun time.
I was thinking of trying that next time because there's something really magical about the idea of the convoy part, like driving together. Because there's an element meet up there too, but element on the dragon. But it's like, I don't know. It just there's a double whammy to it when it's not only the car aspect but the furry aspect, because it's two such rich cultures just coming together.
Absolutely.
And a convoy. That's so cool.
Yes. No, it's so fun to talk to people that are like you in that they appreciate cars and furries. So it's so helpful in making friends and making connections out there. I really can't say I've had a bad experience, at any of these meets that I've been, like these car fur meets, even outside of these big events, like the Cars and Collars and, the Furry Takeover events. A lot of cons will have smaller, unaffiliated with the con car meets. Typically just, hey, there's a bunch of car furs here. Like we should do a meet,
Yeah.
And so that does happen a lot at some of these larger cons, and it's always a fun time as well. So,
and I feel like it might be, not saying that just typical non-furry car meets are inaccessible in any way, but I feel like it's less intimidating when you
100%.
already know a group. Like this is already a group that's very friendly towards queer people and minorities.
Yes.
So the idea that you could just slide in and that judgment probably isn't going to be as strong.
100%.
It's awesome.
Yes. I'd say the car culture and car community had a bit of a rough start adopting some LGBT support and that nature. But I would like to say that over the past recently, maybe 2 or 3 years, I have seen a bit of a tonal shift and that there has been a lot more support. But definitely the furry car meets especially are very welcoming to who is attending these events. Anyone and is allowed to be and supported to be there. So it is such a nice angle and approach.
What an exciting thing to hear about.
What about online communities?
Absolutely. As you know, as you're well acquainted with, furry is usually thought of and primarily thought of as an online community, which is true. It's very easy to engage with other furries and stuff like that. Cars are a little bit different because they are cars. They're a real thing out there and you drive them in the real world. It is a little bit harder, but not impossible to have these sort of online communities. And TikTok especially has done an excellent job at bridging these distances. I'd say before that, honestly, before TikTok, before 2020, it was sort of not really the only sort of non-local connections you were making were of help groups and forums and things of that nature. But no one ever really went out of their way to have a meetup for, the Ford Explorer help forum, But it wasn't until TikTok came around that a lot of these online groups did start coming together and making some real life events and bridging those connections. So definitely recently, car culture in the online world has been expanding and changing a bit in what it is. So it's there. And as you're familiar with furries, it's kind of approaching that similar state. It's kind of nice.
So in the beginning of the episode, you were talking about how you had a harder time giving a personality to your car because it was more like an extension of yourself. Mm-hmm. Can you expand on the idea of that? How like cars can serve as a reflection of a personal identity, not just something that you pay for and that you drive?
Absolutely. And here's the thesis that I'm going to propose with this idea. Furries and car guys are actually the same person. So
interesting.
I will happily expand on this. So that's sort of the running thesis. In the furry world, we use this as a sort of escape where we can create these characters to maybe not even act as, but to be. And sometimes they're ourselves, sometimes they're a little bit different. And we will often spend thousands of dollars, crafting this into a real piece of art that I can wear and perform in and go to groups and show off to other people and talk about the same things that they like. Car guys do the exact same thing where they will find identity in a particular vehicle for one reason or another. It might be the way it drives, the way it looks, the way it sounds, just the way that it is they like. Maybe they have good memories of it as a child or something like that. And they can finally get their hands on one and they can build it and drive it in sort of the way that suits them and that they like. And, they will spend an absorbent amount of money doing so and take it to other meets where they can talk to other like-minded individuals who are doing the same thing. So sort of in the way that furry is an extension of the self, cars are very, very similar to car guys and car enthusiasts. That's partially why you see a lot of bleed over too between the two. A lot of people are always asking, why are there so many car furries? Like they just seem to come up a lot, and they do. And that's because we're kind of doing the same things just with two different media pieces. Some people like the cute and fluffy, and so that's what draws them to furry. Some people like the mechanical and like more hard, and concrete examples. And so that's what draws them to cars.
And if they like both, they get a Miata.
Exactly. That's so true. But that's sort of where it comes from. We're just sort of expanding the self, where we are making a part of ourself realized in the real world through a medium that just exists out there. It's such a great thing to see and have little celebrations and car meets around, just like we have furry conventions and fur meets.
I love finding connections and how human beings can just find their identity in so many different things. I feel like that is ironically for furry, such a human thing to do.
It is, yes.
I love seeing different versions of that because it's when you say that car enthusiasts and furries are like one and the same. Oh, I can think of a mini handful of car enthusiasts that would be like, nuh-uh.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, baby, it's okay to reflect on your identity. It's okay.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. And I think if you have these sort of conversations with them, if they're willing to listen, I think by the end of it, they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, that does make sense, actually." Because a lot of them, and a lot of them, just like furry, don't know why they're doing it. They just like it. So, but on a deeper level, it is about self-exploration and self-identity and expressing yourself for sure.
Yes.
I was waiting on you,
No.
Space. Yeah. Is he alive?
I'm alive. I'm just listening. I like listening because I'm always asking the questions, so it's always kind of nice to just listen and learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know where Sonic came from.
It's better than the song that's been stuck in my head for 3 days. The Pink Pony Club.
Oh, that's normal. You're gay.
It just keeps coming on the radio, and I keep like singing to it. I'm like, oh my god, I just want a different song, but I really don't.
You fool! You thought you could escape.
I've been calling her Chappelle Roan for some reason.
Like,
I didn't realize her
on
name was
accident?
actually Chapel. Yeah, on accident. I didn't realize
Hey.
it was Chapel Roan. Dave Chappelle Roan.
Jesus Christ.
That would be awful. How does the car scene within the furry fandom compare to the broader traditional car enthusiast scene?
Definitely. Like it was sort of brought up a little bit before. The car furries are generally really accepting of anyone, and that's super nice. It's really nice for anyone getting into the hobby. It's a very approachable, the furry car scene is. And not to say that, maybe regular car culture isn't, but any sort of barriers that you can take down with just having connections through furries is just an easier time getting into it. So generally the car furry culture is a lot younger of a crowd as well. Furries are a relatively speaking new thing. At least they have not been around as long as car culture has. So car culture, you will have a lot of people that have been doing this for their whole lives. So you get a huge spectrum of ages and ranges that way. Car furries also typically love the weirder stuff. We are already spending a lot of money and time dedicated to our furry side. So sometimes we want to incorporate that into our choice in car and our how we drive and do things like that. So there's a lot of bleed over between the two. So sometimes that results in choosing the cuter, quirkier cars like the Miata, like you mentioned before. And that can be, a lot of different cars and realize itself in a lot of different cars in a lot of different ways. So those are generally the biggest differences, but certainly the main swaths, we all like cars and this is all used as a form of self-expression. So that core does stay the same.
So let's just do like a fun little speed round to close us off. We have some kind of random, but still car and furry related questions for you. Just little fun get to know you things. I guess the speed dating probably we should have started with, but we're ending with it today. So if you could take any car on a road trip, what would you pick?
That's kind of a hard question, but also not a hard question. I mean, the quick and short answer is my car. I have not done any long road
Your Ford
trips
Focus?
Not the Ford Focus. No, sorry. The Firebird. It's been a constant project. It hardly ever stays the same for longer than a few months or a year. So it's been in a state where I'm feeling really comfortable driving it. And I am attempting this year to make the trek to FWA, the full 12 to 13 hour drive in that car. So that has always been a dream of mine, to take this car on lots of road trips. Other than that, though, I think the maybe more whimsical answer, I love old Land Rovers.
Yes.
And I want to take one on a road trip where I just have a mattress in the back and pull over to the side of the road and I'm sleeping. And we're up in the mountains or somewhere just weird and strange. And I just have an old SUV. I think would be such a fun, quirky road trip to do that.
My first time ever camping, I did that. I just took the seats out of my car and put an air mattress in there, and it was good.
Yes, I want to do that.
Highly recommend it. Very whimsical.
Yes, I'd say so.
What's the most challenging project or modification you've ever worked on?
Oh, yes. I don't want to get too into it since we're here in closing. The answer is whatever the last project I was working on was. I love challenging myself, and that shows itself in my picks for what I'm choosing to do to my car. I get off in the weeds a lot more than most car enthusiasts when it comes to modifying vehicles. I have an engineering degree, and that realizes itself when I am, wanting to change something about my car. And I'm not super happy with a lot of the aftermarket options that are available. And I just don't really like, these. I think I could do it better. And so we'll pull up the CAD work and the calipers and the welder, and we'll start getting going, and we'll get some pretty crazy off in the weed stuff. That has, and the latest thing that's realized itself into is this old car, 1978. It was carbureted. I don't know if you're familiar with what a carburetor is. Are you?
Very vaguely.
Yes.
I know the idea of it.
So the concept of what this carburetor is, it's a device that sits on top of the engine that squirts fuel into the engine. That's where the fuel is coming from. It's where the air and the fuel meet, and the fuel is, squirted into the engine. It's a mechanical device. There are no electronics in this. It runs basically with the vacuum pressure that your engine creates, and that's how much fuel it knows to squirt in and all that sorts of thing. I can appreciate carburetors from a mechanical perspective. I like them and I appreciate them, but they're also just a nightmare to deal with, especially when you have a heavily modified vehicle and a heavily modified engine. Carburetors can just get a bit finicky, and they don't like cold. They don't like hot. They only like to be this temperature, that temperature. They don't like this fuel pressure, that. So I had enough of that finally. I think the final straw in it for me was when I was at an autocross event, and I had finished doing some runs, and I go back into the pit, turn my car off, and my car is still running. Like, what do you mean my car is still... the key is out of the vehicle. What is happening? So what had happened was the car was so hot. The engine was so hot after doing these runs that it's still... The engine itself is a bit of a self-keeping cycle, whereas the pistons are moving down. They're drawing in air. That's going to draw in fuel as well. Where even though the spark plugs weren't firing because the car was off, it was still so hot that the pressure from inside the engine was still keeping the pistons moving.
Oh.
So the stupid thing wouldn't turn off, and I'd have to get up there and smother it to just to get it to turn off. And so that's just sort of what would happen when you do race things with carburetor. And I was so over it. That was the final straw for me. So I have, with some aftermarket parts, built a fuel injection system to run my engine. Fuel injection is the modern equivalent. So it is now using computers and wires and electronics to squirt the fuel in your engine rather than the vacuum pressure that's created. And which
is more efficient.
Way more efficient, you can get it way more dialed in because, instead of just kind of guessing what's happening with the carburetor, I now have sensors and data to tell me exactly how much fuel it wants and where. And it's so much nicer. I'm not that old. I'm 28 years old. And so I like my touch screens, and I can appreciate my carburetors for the mechanical aspect, but I am much familiar with touch screens and buttons and electronics. So I like tuning my engine that way. However, this still was quite a big hurdle to get through. Last year, right before FWA, this was when I was installing the system on my car. I was rushing it, trying to get it ready for FWA. And 2 days before I was set to leave before the event, I had actually developed a fuel leak, and it caught the engine on fire.
Oh!
I was out driving it, doing some tuning sessions, and the whole engine bay burst into flames. So I am so thankful that I had a fire extinguisher on hand that day. And a little bit of a funny tangent, getting it out was quite an ordeal. I popped the hood, panicking. I am absolutely just nightmare panicking, trying to get this thing out. Get it out the first time, and I'm just sitting there breathing, going, oh my God, that actually just happened. And then it erupts into flames again. And I'm like, oh fuck. Put it out again. And I'm like, okay, that was probably it, right? Like surely that was it. And so I get on the phone, and I'm calling my dad. I'm like, Dad, I need you to come pick me up. Like, I'm a car, and I don't know what's wrong.
Dad, my car flew up.
Yeah, my car flew up. While I'm on the phone again, boof, it just burst into flames again. And I'm like, okay, gotta go.
What the hell?
Yes. Later, after doing some diagnosis and what happened, a fuel line was improperly installed on my part. Unfortunately, this was just sort of what happens when you rush a job and trying to get it ready for a road trip. But yeah, a fuel line had not been properly installed, and so had leaking on the exhaust, the very, very hot exhaust, and so it had created quite a flammable environment in there.
Jesus.
But
were you able to fix it?
Yes. So it did cause quite a bit of damage. Thankfully, aesthetically, the car was completely fine. The paint was, so it doesn't ever look like there was a fire. It did eat a lot of hoses, a lot of wiring. And that's mainly where the damage accrued. So after FWA, came back home, got it all fixed up, and it took a few more months after that. Did it right, went over everything with a fine tooth comb. And happy to report that the car is running stronger than ever now, and we are ready for FWA this year.
Awesome.
Yes.
So you did you bring a car to FWA for the show?
Last year, no. I had an emergency flight because of the car situation.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yep. Unfortunate.
How many cars have you personally built or modified?
Tough question, technically, because it's like,
do you build them and sell them, or do you build them and keep them?
I don't I mean, that's something I would like to get into one day. It sort of comes with confidence, maybe 5 years ago when I was really getting into the hobby and stuff like that. I don't think I was ready for that. But at this point, I do help a lot of other people build their vehicles because they've seen kind of the stuff that I do and they're like, huh, that's cool. Can you does that translate well to this? And they'll have a car that has an issue and I'm like, yeah, let's bring it over and we'll work on it, be it a modification or a fix of some kind. If you want to include those types of jobs, man, I don't know everything that I've done for I've had my hands in a lot of vehicles and it's really cool. Now, me personally, between, there's my Firebird, my Daily, the Focus. I have my truck that I've done some work on, but the Focus and the truck don't typically get a ton of modifications or restoration. They are fine as is, and I will keep them. I do have a 1969 Corvette that was my aunt's car.
Corvettes are so cool.
It's a very pretty car, and another wild story. My aunt is a hoarder, like by definition, a hoarder. Her house was filled to the brim. Every room, every corner, every space she owned was filled with boxes, furniture, things of that nature, just stuff. And we as a family were like, all right, we got to do something. We're going to help you clean out your house because this is becoming a problem. So one summer, I think this was 2019, maybe, I think, we're like, all right, we're going to tackle this, one room at a time, so we're going through the whole house and we get to the garage and we're moving. This garage is 2 cars wide and maybe 3 cars back. It's a big garage, right? Huge garage. Like it's sort of a metal building attached to the house, big garage. And you open the garage doors, full boxes. Like it's a wall immediately. Like there's no room to get into this. It's just a wall of stuff. So we're like, oh great. Like this is going to take forever. So the whole summer we're working on getting these boxes and stuff out. And I remember one of the last days we were there, I pull up this big plywood square, right? I pull it up and there it is. A taillight, a little circular taillight of a 1969 Corvette. And I'm like, what is this? And, move a few more boxes out of the way. There's an entire car here. How long has this been here? And so she had forgotten about it.
How do you forget about a whole vehicle?
Have you ever watched those hoarder shows where they find like vintage cars?
Yes. Oh. This 1969 Corvette had been sitting here for 20 years. Its last registration was in 1995. No, 94. And so it had been sitting there for almost 2 decades when we found it. And it unfortunately was a mess. I think from what she recalls, she bought it from a gentleman who was deployed. She worked in the military and knew someone with this Corvette and they were selling it because they were being deployed. And so she bought it and just sort of parked it in the garage, and it needed some work at the time and just never did anything with it and slowly just piled stuff up over the next 2 decades and had just forgotten about it over time. So she gave it to me. She gifted it to me. So with the promise that I would restore it. And so it's a very slow project. Corvettes are very expensive and very hard to work on. So it's a slow project. I want to dedicate a bunch of time to it when I can at some point. So it sort of sits, outside right now. It's tarped up, but it's just waiting on its restoration. I want to do a proper restoration on it. I think that would be a very cool car. Crazy. Other than that, though, the last vehicle that I currently own and we're working towards is an MGB. I don't know if you're familiar. These are sort of a weird, quirky car. They're a British car. Little tiny sports car, kind of like a Miata, but very old and very British. Reason we have it is going to be a Lemons race car. Have you ever heard of the 24-hour of Le Mans?
I've heard of it, but I don't know quite what it is.
That's a lot of people. It's a name that gets thrown around and you sort of hear it. It is a 24-hour race of the largest manufacturers and competitors. They will come together once a year and do this 24-hour race. It's held in Le Mans, France. That's why it's called that. And it's such a cool thing that people want to do, but it's a huge barrier to entry. Lots of money. You need a race team and everything like that. So in America, a group got together to create the 24-hour of Lemons, where the one rule of the race is that your car can't cost more than $500.
Yes.
What?
That's awesome.
And it is who can survive who can complete the most laps in 24 hours. Basically, that's the race. It is so fun, and so I have yet to do one. The car needs work, obviously, and that takes time and takes money. So I haven't been able to do it yet. But we've got a couple of us, a few friends, and I have been working on this slowly
the
over time.
MGB.
Yes, the MGB.
It's a cute little car.
It is a cute little car. Now, the reason it's taking a bit longer is because I as soon as I start being able to work on a car, I'm going to do some modifications to it that probably are slowing us down, but I want them. So one of the stipulations was that I want to have a V8. that was one of my rules. The MGBs didn't come with that. They came with a little dinky 4-cylinder. So we've dug a V8 out of a car to throw in there. So that's, takes some fabrication and some time to get in there. But we're working on it over time. And so hopefully in the next couple of years or something, we'll have our race car, our cheapo $500 race car ready to go.
Oh, that's my favorite. I much prefer looking at the real shit looking cars than the really nice ones. I don't know what it is.
Yes.
They're just my favorite. Like, I saw a car driving on the road today. I couldn't even identify what it was because the emblems were ripped off. It was such a piece of shit. It looked like a station wagon, and they just had like LED strips, but not even attached. They were just dripping off the ceiling in their car. And I was like, oh, I love you. We follow you home and take a picture.
Yes, I the aesthetic of old crappy race car is such a fun one that I very quickly fell in love with, and I'm looking forward to this project and racing it actually too.
Incredible.
Something to look forward to.
Oh my God.
I guess one term we haven't gone over, but it's been kind of like going over my head. It goes with the retro thing of the jalopy. Do you ever call your cars jalopies?
No, I don't think I've used that term personally. I think that's more seen as an older term. I don't think I've heard that one, in recent years. But jalopy is certainly a term that fits the aesthetic of Lemons racing, definitely.
Yeah.
I never made that connection with that song. Oh my God. Frank Sinatra has a song with the word jalopy in it. My dumbass just thought it was some kind of car brand.
No, it's just another way of, it's a dated word.
That's so funny.
Referring to an older car.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So whenever I see like older cars on the road, I'll be like, "Oh, look, Felix, a jalopy." It's
very true.
Yeah,
low key,
it's a fun word.
For an old car. So my car's name is Benji. Because when I first got it, and mind you, and this market sucks right now. This is a used car. It cost me $10,000, and it was very broken. I did not know it was that broken. I got it checked and everything, but like a week after I got it, it was breaking down on the highway. Yeah, but when the first time I started breaking down on the highway, I was literally listening to Breaking Benjamin, and the car just kept breaking every time I tried to fix it. So I was like, well, shit, I gotta name it Benji because it's breaking all the time.
That's so cute. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so my car's name is actually based off of a duck.
Yes.
So it's the very first movie, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Like, it's like the 1940s, 50s version. Yeah. And they take this duck with them. This German guy has a pet, and his pet's name is Gertrude. And so he's like a hiking specialist. And so he ends up going with everyone into the center of the earth. And I like the way he said it, but I'm like, that's such a cool name. And so when it came to naming my card, I'm like, you look like a Gertie to me.
Gertie.
I'm calling you Gertrude. Yeah.
I do love that.
Yeah, okay, I know your main car doesn't have a name, but do you have any cars with names?
Besides the Fuckus, the truck was recently acquired and has yet to be named. I am on the lookout for names for that.
Send a picture. We'll help you.
Yes. Let me gather.
We can get you a baby naming book.
Oh my God! Yes.
I wonder if there are books like that for like cars.
For naming cars. Oh my God, it's so good.
Go to Barnes and Noble for it.
Let's see, where is an older truck? It's a 1995 GMC. It was actually my grandpa's truck that I've inherited, and it's been pretty excellently well maintained. So I plan on keeping it that way. Where did I put it? Looking for a picture current. I know I've got one.
Picture on the wall. Something, all.
The Corvette does not have a name yet. I'm waiting to put it together before I will christen it with a name. However, the MG, we've gone through so many names. I think the current one that we've landed on is Tetanus.
Yeah,
nice. That's awesome.
It's a pretty rusty little guy. So we love him for that. So
Oh my God.
yeah,
I see these cars a lot. Well, so when I grew up in California, there were trucks like this everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and I've seen them souped up before too.
Oh yeah, definitely. This has been life changing having a truck for when I need to haul stuff.
And you got the white text wheels.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll do everything we can to keep this thing and preserved well on the road. So
I think the worst thing I've ever seen, though, I've seen this model, is when they take huge ass wheels and they put the thin performance tires on them, and then you just have I don't know, a huge circumference of spinny wheels, and I'm like, why?
Yep. Hey, some people are doing it for the looks, and that's what they like. So
it's just pointless when people buy beefy ass trucks and they put small wheels on it, and I'm like, I don't understand your thought process here.
Yep.
People like what they like, I reckon.
Yeah,
I suppose.
We listen and we don't judge,
Lovely. Well, do you have any final thoughts or advice for people looking to explore both worlds when it comes to car culture, furry culture, or a combination of the two?
Absolutely. Talking to people is the best way to start with either hobby or both. Get involved with some events around you. If you have any local car events, attend with some friends if you can, or just go out and, with the intention to meet some people. There are plenty of people there that are also looking to make friends and get into the hobby just like you would be. And especially these furry ones. If you can make it out to any of these car meets or shows at the cons, since you're already going to be there, it's such a low barrier of entry, and it's so nice to be able to get into people like that. So absolutely talking to people. If you're wanting to even take that extra step of getting into working on vehicles and modifying vehicles, always start small. It sounds, it's an intimidating hobby, certainly can be, but it's something that anyone can learn how to do without a doubt. So there's lots of help out there and guides on YouTube, and talking to other people. You can learn so much about just the way things work in the world if you just start working on a car, start wrenching on a car. But also, if it's too intimidating or you just don't want to, that's also, like we talked about earlier, not a requirement into being into cars. Some people are just into cars to be into cars. Some people are photographers. Some people are, we talked about the racers and stuff like that. So there's lots of ways to get into it. Best to find local events and just get involved in those. For sure.
Sounds great.
I'm definitely going to take that advice. Try some local car events. Our square has one pretty much every other weekend, so.
Awesome. I love that. Yep. I'm very much looking forward to meeting you at FWA.
Yeah.
That's going to be so fun.
I am very bald, so I'll stick out like a sore thumb.
And she likes wearing overalls.
Not anymore.
Not anymore?
No,
You're not doing that anymore?
In a while. Yeah.
The last time you wore overalls was when
I went to Yellowstone with you guys. Yeah, that was 2020 though.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'll keep an eye out for the Element for sure.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I wonder if there's going to be another one that shows up. I have these stickers.
Hard to miss.
I have these stickers of my Persona driving my Element, and I stick them in people's windshield wipers when I see them driving other Elements. Whether they're furries or not, I'm like, you'll it's fine. You can have one.
Yep. I love that.
I've actually made a few random friends doing that too.
Yes.
There's this person that lives 5 minutes down the street from me that has 8 Elements in their driveway, and I just took a risk one day and stuck some stickers in their mailbox with a note because I had a question about local mechanics that they trust, and I left my phone number, and they totally texted me, and I was like, hell yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Heck yeah, getting out there for sure.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. As I kind of mentioned to you in Twitter messages, I'm more of a fan of I don't know what it is. I came across one of your big ass feet fursuit.
I'm surprised we've gone this long without mentioning your feet.
I know.
That sounds really weird. Out of context, Zero. I'm sorry, but.
And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I need to see the size on this thing. So I started looking through pictures. I'm like, those feet are fucking huge.
Massive.
I don't know how you can walk in
kangaroo.
those.
Yeah.
I saw you doing a little dancing vid. That was kind of cute.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
So I saw that, and then I'm like, he likes cars too. So this actually might work out really well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. For the record, 36 inches long.
Damn, you know exactly.
Holy shit.
Yep.
All right, no one's
How much do they weigh?
now?
You know what? I don't know. I don't have a number, but they do weigh. It's like wearing a fursuit head on each of your feet. That's honestly what it would
that
feel
doesn't
like.
sound
Oh,
too
wow.
I
bad.
could imagine.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. They can be unwieldy, and you certainly can't move fast. You're not agile. But I make
You
it
go
work.
up escalators
I'd like
backwards.
to see you go into the fursuit games with that.
I have been in a few, and it's so fun. I'm there for everyone else's entertainment, and it's always a fun time.
I bet.
Get some of those fursuit flip flops, but they're just ridiculously.
Yeah, I've made some for myself.
Hell yeah!
They're huge.
Oh,
yeah.
You should just get some like boogie boards and tape them to your paw.
That would be so great.
That's a brilliant idea, actually.
That's so funny.
funny.
I would love to see that.
Oh my god.
You also have a Polygon one too.
I do love
my
the
little
Polygon
boy.
horse.
He's actually, so he's not a
What is
horse. He gets that a lot. He's actually an angle dragon. not
Oh
to be
shit, that's
confused
so
with an
cool.
Angel dragon.
That's so much better. I thought about making
Yes.
a banjo fursuit for Banjo Tooie and Banjo Kazooie,
Oh,
but
yeah.
making it like polygonal.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
Sparrow's a fursuit maker.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome.
We got really
Yeah,
off topic
no,
there, but I
Poly-
just got really excited. I'm sorry.
Yes. Thank you, though. He's a little great baby. I love him.
Angle.
Now that I'm looking at it,
Angle
it does look
dragon.
more dragon.
The face has a little bit of that kind of horse snoot, though. I wanted that big bulby snoot that I love some dragons have. So
Big dragon fan.
It's cool. It's a suit that I haven't seen before, so it was really cool to kind of see that.
he was born out of spite when I forgot how to spell the word angel dragon on Twitter one time, and I was completely roasted. So I decided to make angle dragons a real thing in spite of everyone that made fun of me for it. So
That is awesome.
I love that for you. This has been a super fun episode. I had a
Well,
great
folks,
time.
if you
yes, I loved it.
do you want to take us out then?
Who, me? Yeah, I'll take you out. Come here.
Yeah.
Chin up.
No, don't take
Where are
me
we
out.
going? Where are we going?
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode. This has been a really enlightening one. I had a
Yes.
really great time. And you want to go ahead and throw your credentials out there so folks can follow you?
Sure, just Kangazoo everywhere. That's KANGAZEROO.
Nice.
Find me anywhere.
Sweet. Well, you can find them
Sweet.
everywhere, apparently. And if you guys want to talk to us, whether you have a guest you want us to have on our show, any topic ideas, feel free to shoot us an email at talktothemuzzle@gmail.com. And we also have a growing Telegram chat, super active, a lot of really awesome people on there if you want to join in on that little community.
And when I say active, it's 24/7.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it goes. I'll like check it in the morning. I'm like 300 notifications. What?
It's grown so much in the past couple years. It's kind of wild.
It really has. We're almost at 200.
But everybody is so
Almost.
nice in there.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be really cool. They really are. It's a great place to make friends. Everyone's really accepting and
Yes.
welcoming. So it's a really good place to be.
I agree.
Well, thank you everyone for listening, and thank you, Zero, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This
Yeah.
was awesome to be a part of.
Yay.
And we'll see you guys on our next episode, which I'm sure it'll be about something.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.